Hey everybody, let's be seriously here. And today I'd like to be serious about Ghost of Yotei. Want to address first the elephant in the room, which is all the controversy about them having a female, protagonist rather than kind of like a male protagonist. Me personally, it does take the hype away for me when I see that sort of thing, when keeping in mind how they have treated female characters in recent history. That's not to say I'm discrediting the game outright. It just means that the truth of the matter is I am less hyped for it than I would be a male protagonist character. And I know some people feel a way about that, but that's just what it is. I've played games and liked games that have female protagonists. That's not the problem. I just don't think that perhaps the experience I'm looking for in a story of how Ghost of Tsushima told is not something I can see myself being interested in through the female perspective. Though I could be wrong. I mean, there are things they could do that would be interesting. But I would like to not dwell on that and just talk about the game trailer in general, because it was just a reveal trailer, right? Speaking of which, first thing I would like to talk about is that I rewatched the original Ghost of Tsushima trailer, and then I watched Ghost of Yotei trailer right afterwards and compared them. There is a stark difference in the way the trailers handle themselves. The Ghost of Tsushima trailer set up an antagonist right off the bat in their reveal trailer, and it enticed a very strong sense of despair and kind of like this warrior spirit. And it tells the story, what story you should expect in Ghost of Tsushima very well. Now, compared to Ghost of Yotei, the trailer does not capture the same beats, which is not bad on its own necessarily, but what I'm concerned about is that it didn't really capture anything other than some shallow elements, such as the kind of like the beauty of the landscape in Ghost of Tsushima. They lean heavily into that in the Yotei trailer. They take their time to show you the panoramas of the mountain and the fields and all that. That just does not appeal to me. I thought it was okay in the first game. They were going that romantical route with the story, though it's not why I like the game. Honestly, Ghost of Tsushima Island in the game had like all 4 seasons on the island all at once, and I would have preferred if they would have just told, like, through storytelling, maybe broke the sections up through Act 1, 2, and 3. So, Act 1's summer, Act 2 fall, and Act 3 is in winter. I would have much preferred if they did that, but they didn't. But it's fine. Another thing is that it doesn't capture my imagination like the first trailer did, Ghost of Tsushima trailer. It's really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's it gives a sense of bravado with the protagonist, as in, like, this larger than life character. She's real tough, she gets the job done, but that doesn't do anything for me with the Ghost of Tsushima story. I really wish they would a different route. If they do have something else in mind, I hope in future trailers they take the time to consider what they want people to see and focus on that, because I know they have the wolf, and I imagine there's some allegories about the wolf being, she's a lone wolf. That's not as effective as the first trailer. I'm sorry, guys. Anyone who liked the trailer, that's fine. But Ghost of Tsushima trailer was by far better than the Ghost of Yotei reveal trailer. Another thing I'd like to talk about is, for me personally, I really wish these samurai, Japan games would get away from the romance portion of Japanese fiction. There are other stories to tell. I wish they would get away from the romantical fiction of Edo period Japan. I know that's what Ghost of Tsushima is. That's how they decided to tell that story. And it was fine. That was a great game. I really do enjoy the story of that game and the game in general. Though with Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ghost of Yotei both taking that route, and almost every other samurai game before, at least in the modern era, I would really like to see a grounded, gritty story based in Japan. It could be during the Edo period that takes itself seriously in the sense of showing the more grittier sides of Japanese history, or even a fantasy. An example is there's an anime or manga called Blade of the Immortal, and that had a very grounded story, a very dirty story that it told, even though it had fantasy elements too. In one scene I remember in particular, the main character was fighting someone, and he cuts him with this sword, this barbed sword, and after about a little while after in this fight, he starts noticing that the wound was burning, and the other guy he was fighting reveals that he soaked his sword in in like a toilet. So when he fought him, the cut would get infect, right? I thought that was cool because it had like a lot of that sort of stuff, a lot of different creative ways these guys were doing things to take each other down, and the whole story was like that, very gritty. So that's just my personal take. I would really like to see that. The whole idealized samurai is cool, but I'm ready for some grounded, gritty Japanese samurai stories. Other things I would like to see in the game changed in Ghost of Yotei is first is a dramatic increase to the difficulty. Ghost of Tsushima, once you got geared up and leveled up, it became easier. The Mongols were not the same fierce force they were as the beginning of the game, which you could say in a sense maybe that's the way it's supposed to be, though it took something away once you got towards the end and you were just effortlessly just cutting these guys down like they were nothing. Historically, the Mongols were better equipped than the Japanese, and their fighting tactics, which the game does touch upon, were so unorthodox that the Japanese didn't really know how to take him on. Again, I thought the game kind of touched on that with the uncle kind of being angry with his nephew Jin, in the sense that he wanted him to fight honorably, and Jin was trying to adapt tactics and create new tactics to fight this enemy. Still, I would like to see increased difficulty. I like difficult games. That's a personal opinion. Another thing I would like to see is more dynamic boss fights. The boss fights are really cool when they happen, and I enjoyed every last one of them. However, I think they could expand on it. Perhaps have some environmental interactions. Maybe you get knocked through a wall, or maybe you roll down a hill and enter a lake, and the lake kind of slows your movements. Perhaps the other guy has a spear or something else that changes the dynamic of the fight. Things like that. I think that would be easy to implement. It would make them much more memorable. Which leads into the next thing I would like to see. I would like to see different weapons in Ghost of Yotei. Ghost of Tsushima had with the katana, the short bow, the long bow. Those are the three main weapons outside the tools. I would really like to see them lean into the sort of like assassin elements, and maybe if they're gonna go romance Japan, let's just get it all, man. Let's get the chain and sickle, get nunchucks. I don't care. Just go crazy. Like, let's give us some creative weapons and some skill trees to go with it. That would be awesome. Spears you can use, sickles, the whole 9 yards. Let's just get it. Weapons. Each one different. No, I don't want. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want just to have weapons for the sake of weapons. I want variety. Tactics you can use with different weapons. Maybe even you can try and combo some of them. If you really get a good build going. And this also leads into the next thing too, with the skill tree. I would like to see a more intuitive skill tree. The first one, skill tree was serviceable. It did kind of feel like an afterthought, in the sense that you didn't really make a build. You kind of just got everything you wanted first, and then by end game, you bought the stuff that you thought was least important. So you're pretty much maxed out by the end. At least I was before even I got to Act 3. I was freaking darn there maxed out. So if they can have skill trees and you have to make decisions on what you're gonna do with your skill points, so by end game you are set on a path. I guess they could do that by having just a. See, when I say wider, I don't want like 5% damage, 8% damage, 2% speed. Actual choices, skill choices you make that change the way you approach challenges. I would also like to see stealth take a more frontal priority. In Ghost of Tsushima, even on the highest difficulty, you can really just rush in and just kill 30 people. Stealth was secondary, wasn't really necessity in the later part of the game. I really want to see the stealth and the stealth mechanics have a lot more added to a robust stealth system. Another thing is lethal mode. I did it through the first half of the game. However, I found that it started making the game far too easy. And also the bosses, oh my gosh, I hated the boss fights. I'll tell you what, I loathe the boss fights in Lethal. You'd have to hit them 89 times. They would hit you 3 times and it was over. Oh God, I just for the boss fights. It was with the old lady samurai. I got to her and I said, what this doesn't even make sense in game. It just immersed me out of the game. So I just turned it off and turned it back to what was the second highest from Lethal, hard or whatever it was. And it was a much more enjoyable experience. Even fighting the common enemies was more enjoyable that way than it was in Lethal. At least again, in the later half of the game. Of course, I would like to see the female protagonist written well. Modern media has a habit of writing excruciatingly bad female characters in a sense that I think it does them an injustice. It makes them flat, boring, one note, which is why there's a lot of interesting things you could do with a female protagonist, and I hope they do explore those and resist the temptation of doing what everyone does with a female character and just reskinning your male protagonist with a female, and that's it. To end this off, I'm not particularly hyped for this game, but I'm not ruling it out. Just saying, so far, I'm leery. But I'm keeping an open mind. I'm keeping a lookout, and I think most people should just do the same. Keep an ear out. Let's hope it's good, because Ghost of Tsushima was a blast. It was something special, and I would love to have that again. But I'm also not naive, and I'm aware of how things go. I don't want to touch on the politics of it too much because I just don't care. I know that the actress who voices the main character in Ghost of Yotei has some stuff going on. It's supposed to be, I guess, very vocal, but I don't really care what she has to say. Well, an example of why I don't care what she has to say is because I hear that she kind of rants and raves at how much she dislikes white people, but she's on Critical Role ran by Matt Mercer. I don't care what she has to say. She can say whatever she wants. From what I've seen of her opinions, I don't respect what she has to say. I'm someone who will listen, and I can respect to, pretty extreme ideas from people as long as they can rationalize it or at least explain to me why they think the way they think in a cohesive manner. But that right there just tells me that she's just talk. Why would I respect what she has to say after that obvious discrepancy? So I don't even care to touch on it. I really don't care what she has to say. She does a good job with the voice. That's all I'm asking, right? So guys, those are my initial thoughts on the trailer for Ghost of Yotei. What is how they say it. I'm expecting the worst, but no. I'm planning for the worst. but I am hoping for the best. Until next time, guys, take care.